Mumbles Lighthouse. Work began in 1792, was completed and lit in 1794. It was a stone tower, 56 feet high, roughly 17 metres. It had 2 open fire braziers as its light source, one at the top and one about 20 feet, that's about 6 metres below it. It's gone through many modifications over the years, from revolving argon lamps with reflectors to a dioptric lens. Then eventually it was an IOB. IOB stands for incandescent oil burner, so it was fed by paraffin and air, and that would have had to been pumped up by the keepers to give a light source. Then it was an occulting light in 1905, and that would have been driven by a mechanical mechanism which was like weights hanging down a wire, slowly descending down the tower, which drove the mechanism round, which operated a device that covered the light for so long and then off, on, off. Then in about 1935, the station was converted to electricity, which hastened the end of the Lighthouse Keeper in this lighthouse, and it was automated. This complex was also a fort during Napoleonic times, mainly to protect Swansea from any French attacks. It was also used in both World Wars as a searchlight batteries and gun emplacements. It really needed a lot more time than I had to do this place justice on video. There's much more to see, but as they say, time and tide wait for no man. I had the consideration of the tides that are quite vicious in the Bristol Channel to contend with, and also I had the attendant's time and other duties to think about.
You walking up here?
Yeah, okay. Caldey Island lies off the southwest coast of Wales and can only be reached by boat from Tenby. Tenby is quite a popular visitor spot, so if you're travelling during the tourist season, I suggest you get to the kiosk on the harbour quickly in the morning to get your tickets. The boats leave either from the harbour itself or, depending on the tide, from the beach just further round. The boats leave every 20 minutes, Monday to Saturday, from about 10 a.m. There's no sailings on Sundays, and the sailings are seasonal. They start around April and end more or less the beginning of October. As it's reliant on the weather and the sea conditions, these trips can be cancelled at a moment's notice. So bear that in mind if you're going to go to the island. From Tenby itself, Tenby is a very busy seaside village, very popular. So you have a 20-minute boat ride to Caldey, and then you enter another world of peace, quiet and tranquility, and you're surrounded by nature and red squirrels darting here, there and everywhere. Very, very nice place to go. As I was meeting up with John Catini, the lighthouse attendant, I was allowed onto the early morning boat that delivers all the provisions to the island, which tourists aren't allowed on. So I was there long before 10 a.m.
Yeah, on the left there. That's right through there. There's things to go. Oh, the other thing. Yeah.
Caldey Island is one of Britain's holy islands. Roughly it's Celtic in the 6th century, then Vikings may have ended that settlement in about the 10th century, then the 12th century Benedictine monks, then 1906 to 1925 another group of monks, but they ran into financial trouble and sold up in 1925. Now it's a reformed Cistercians, which are an offshoot of the Benedictines, that own the island. Caldey Island in Welsh is Ynys Bir. Ynys Bir. This is the small sort of village enclosure, basically shops, the big abbey, the monastic enclosure, which aren't open to the public. But you can view services from the Abbey Church viewing gallery. And then you got the Old Priory, the St Illtyd's Church, and there's St David's Church also. The monks also make chocolate and perfume on the island. You can visit the chocolate factory to see how it's made, and you can purchase it from the village shop as well. Once you are up on the hill, Heading towards the lighthouse area and away from the Abbey buildings, you come upon the Old Priory, and the Old Priory used to be home to the Benedictine monks that lived on Caldey in medieval times. The building has been unoccupied since the dissolution of monasteries in 1536 by Henry VIII. Hello, red squirrel. This little church on Caldey is well worth a visit. It's called in English St. Illtyd's Church. Now excuse me for butchering the Welsh language, but in Welsh it's Sant Illtyd Igwys. Sant Illtyd Igwys. There was a lovely little sign on the door going into the church saying, "Please leave the door open, swallows nesting," hence all those little white marks on the beams above. The Ogham stone that you see on the side there in the church, it dates from around the 5th to the 6th century, and it contains inscriptions in Latin and the ancient Ogham script, which is Celtic in origin from Ireland. That was a slight U-shaped deviation off the main pathway or roadway up to the lighthouse, and now we're back on track and heading up to the lighthouse. Up by the lighthouse you can practically see the whole island. It's only 1.5 miles long, that's about 2.4 kilometres, by 1 mile, that's 1.6 kilometres wide. Caldey Island Lighthouse was built 1829. It was built and designed by Joseph Nelson. It's about a 1 mile walk to the lighthouse from the landing area, which is roughly 1.5 kilometres. The tower has 2 dwellings, one either side, which were for the keepers and their families, but now it's for local residents on the island. Trinity House no longer own the buildings, only the lighthouse. Trinity House converted the lighthouse to automatic unmanned operation in 1927. It was the last Trinity House lighthouse to be powered by acetylene gas until its modernisation in November 1997. I suppose the kitchen. And then just a quick
my name
name's John Catini and I'm the attendant here, been the attendant since 1989. I was already living and working on the island when the previous attendant left, so I took over, and when I first took over, the station was run by acetylene gas, and then in 97, it was converted to electricity, and instead of a mantle we had a little bulb like a car headlamp bulb, and now it's gone over to the LED that you're going to see in the film. It's been great looking after the place for all these years. Like to keep it ship-shape and spick and span, and it's a great thing for the visitors to see when they come. And also, of course, it's useful for the yachtsmen and the ships that still go along the Bristol Channel. We still get a few tankers and quite a lot of leisure sailors as well going along there.
This would be the service room, I guess. And somebody still does the brass. That's the gate. See if I can see that from the side. Not from there, can I? Is it alright to go in?
Yeah, go up.
I'm trying not to touch the brass.
Don't worry.
Oops. Ooh. In the base of Caldey Island Lighthouse is a little setup to show you how this lighthouse was lit in the past. It is a system made by Gustaf Dalén, a Swedish inventor, and his main component of the acetylene gas lighting system that you see exhibited in the base of this tower was a Dalén sun valve. The sun valve would have been on the roof of the building, and it's a valve is controlled by 4 metal rods enclosed in a glass tube. The central rod is black and surrounded by 3 polished rods. As the sunlight falls onto the rods, the absorbed heat of the sun expands the dark rod, switching a valve to cut the gas supply. This means that after sunset, the central rod, the black rod, then cools down, contracting and opening the gas supply. There is always a small burning pilot light that ignites the gas when it's released by the valve. Thus you get this constant light coming on at night and going off in the morning. If you've never heard of Gustaf Dalén, he also went on to invent the Aga cooker. This is a demonstration of a similar setup at St Tudwell's Lighthouse up on the Llyn Peninsula, North Wales. This is me breaking the mantle to demonstrate what happens when there's a breakage. Underneath that is a flammable soaked piece of wood about 4 times the size of a matchstick. That's just burnt through, took about 5 minutes in situ. Puts the next one in place and lights it, and this is the mechanism from underneath. Clockwork. And then it's just a case then of eventually the keeper will replace the wooden slot. There it goes in. Looks quite thick, doesn't it? And there's me putting a new mantle on. That was just for demonstration purposes. And all you have to do to keep the system working is just wind up the clockwork, and that's it. Simple and very, very reliable. Never had a problem.